The Alexander Isak stories are starting to come out in full force. Some reports coming out saying Arsenal are in advanced talks. Other reports coming out saying Liverpool have open talks for Alexander Isak. David Ornstein, Fabrizio Romano have both been on it in the last couple of days, speaking on various platforms about this guy. And I honestly think this transfer story, we're not even in a transfer window and it's already taking over. I personally believe this transfer story will be the biggest transfer throughout the summer. And you know what's crazy? He may even stay at Newcastle. If Newcastle get in the top four, before anyone says, "Oh, you're doing clickbait," listen, this is just my opinion. If Newcastle get in the top four, right, it's going to be very, very difficult for Arsenal, Liverpool, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, whatever football club it may be. It's going to be so difficult to get him out of Newcastle. They've just won their first major honour in 56 years. They've just won their first domestic honour in nearly 70 years. They're at a point where a couple of signings, and they may be consistently in that top four, then the next goal would be pushing on for a league title. Arsenal are at a point where they need an out-and-out number 9 for their next goal to win league titles. And Liverpool are potentially going to be about Trent, Virgil, and Mohamed Salah. This transfer story is going to be huge. Make sure you go down, drop a like on the video if you haven't already. Let me know your thoughts down below, whether you're a Newcastle, Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, United, whoever you support, Spurs. Where do you think Alexander Isak will be? And make sure you go down and hit that subscribe button. We are steamrolling our way towards 50,000 subscribers. We are 620 away. And there's 89% of you that watch the content are not subscribed. Now, Alexander Isak, well, I made a video about this yesterday and it's got me thinking because I was more focusing on reports. And while there are a lot of reports out there, I mean, you've only got to type his name on Google and just see it's endless. Where will Alexander Isak be? I'm going to give you my three scenarios. We'll start with the Newcastle scenario. If Newcastle get in the top four, I'm going to openly say this, it is going to be extremely difficult. You're probably looking at close to £150 million in getting him out of a Newcastle team, right? Newcastle are pushing for a Champions League position. And like I just said, they have just won their first major honour in 56 years. They got no doubt will try and pin him down to a new contract, similar to what they did with Anthony Gordon. And the next one will be Bruno Guimaraes. I think if they get in top four, you're looking at anything in the region of £150 million, right? The next scenario is Liverpool. Now, Fabrizio Romano has come out and said that Alexander Isak is on Liverpool's wish list. Now, I personally think there is more likely and more chance he does join Arsenal, but we're not going to rule anything out because this is Liverpool Football Club. They're one of the biggest football clubs in the world. They're about to win their first Premier League title in 6 years, and they are in a very, very strong position. Now, why I think it's unlikely he joins Newcastle is because there is a potential possibility that Virgil van Dijk, that Trent Alexander-Arnold, and Mohamed Salah will all be leaving Liverpool this summer, right? So Virgil van Dijk, there's a lot of transfer news, a lot of speculation, a lot of credible reporters out there linking him with a move to PSG. We all know Real Madrid are circling Trent Alexander-Arnold like sharks. And then you've got Mohamed Salah. If all three of those hypothetically were to go, Alexander Isak to Liverpool is very unlikely. However, there are credible reporters coming out there, and even including Fabrizio Romano, has said in the last couple of weeks that Liverpool's plan is to offload Luis Diaz and Darwin Núñez. Now, you would think you could probably get 70 million, 60 million, whatever it is for the both of them, put the money towards Alexander Isak, and there you go. And then you have the last option, which of course is Arsenal. Now, Arsenal's final piece is the number 9. Credible reports, once again, from Fabrizio Romano, David Ornstein, Sky Sports, Sami Mokbel, that Arsenal will have a war chest of up to £300 million. Now, they themselves have been heavily linked to players like Nico Williams, Martin Zubimendi, Benjamin Sesko is also on the list. But Fabrizio Romano said yesterday that Alexander Isak is Arsenal's top target. And that got me thinking, if he is Arsenal's top target, you are going to be looking at a fee of around £130 million for Alexander Isak to be joining Arsenal. Not only that, right? If Alexander Isak was going to stay, why doesn't he do what Harry Kane does and come out of an interview and said, as long as we're challenging, as long as we're competing, as long as we're winning trophies, I'm happy to stay. Now, Arsenal and Liverpool will put huge money on the table for this guy. AFC stuff. This tweet was yesterday from Romano. Massive proposals is the key words there. Will come to the table for Alexander Isak. Arsenal will be there. Liverpool will also be there. And for Arsenal, he's the absolute top target. Now, if Arsenal go, right, there's Gabriel Jesus, there's £130 million, or there's £140 million up front, you've also got to look at the possibility from Newcastle. Newcastle could then go out there, approach Sporting, get a Benjamin Sesko. One Swedish player comes out, one Swedish player comes in. Let's say they sign Victor Gyökeres for 60, 70 million pounds and they get, say, 130 million. You could also put that other 50, 60 million down, go and get a Brian Mbeumo or a Visa from Brentford, and collectively, you're probably stronger across the board. Don't get me wrong, Alexander Isak is the best number 9 for me, other than Kylian Mbappe and Robert Lewandowski this season. And those two are in a league of their own right now. Lewandowski's got 32 goals this season, and I think Mbappe's got 30 goals. You're talking elite number 9. He's in that sort of conversation. But who is more likely? At this moment in time, I think there's more likely that he stays at Newcastle than joins Liverpool, and more chance that he joins Arsenal than joins Liverpool. I think there's a lot more competition for places at Liverpool, especially if they were hypothetically to keep and add to that, list of players that can play in the 9. Gakpo can play there. Chiesa, Nunez, Diaz, Jota. Of course, all of those players are nowhere near as good as Alexander Isak. But you look at it and compare it to Trossard, Martinelli, Havertz. It's night and day. It's absolutely night and day. And if you put Alexander Isak in this Arsenal team this season, for me, they would have won the league. But also, like I said, if Newcastle United strengthen, they aren't a million miles away. You bring in a Brian Mbeumo and keep Isak. You bring in a creative midfielder and you bring in another centre-back. They were already heavily linked with Gahey. This Newcastle side could be there or thereabouts in a few years. If they win their game in hand, they're in the top 4. They've got winnable games coming up. 4 of the next 6 games are at St. James's Park. Now, there's a lot of people suggesting that Arsenal are in advanced talks. Liverpool have opened talks. Arsenal are prepared to break the bank for this guy. And there's a lot of people suggesting that, Arsenal will put 130, 140 million pounds down on the table for him. I look at it in terms of what Isak can add to both Liverpool and Arsenal. I don't think there's another Premier League player likely to leave that can add that. The Declan Rice situation is very similar to the Alexander Isak one. Won a team their first trophy in God knows how long. I think of West Ham, it was 43 years. I know, of course, West Ham were in a completely different situation in terms of league, but that football guaranteed Europa League football. At an absolute worst, Newcastle will be in the Conference League. But that window, Arsenal went out and dropped £230 million on Havertz, on Declan Rice, and on Urian Timber. There's no reason why Arsenal can't go and drop another 250 million pounds. But at the same time, there is no guarantee he leaves Newcastle. I think the story is absolutely fascinating. Where will he end up? According to some reports, he wants to move. According to other reports, Arsenal are advanced. And according to other things, Liverpool are opening talks. I mean, the whole situation regarding Alexander Isak is going to be fascinating. I'm telling you that for free. Make sure you go down, drop a like on the video if you haven't already. Make sure you do hit that subscribe button, and I will see you next time. Thank you for watching. I am